Welcome to MarcusG.TV. I'm Chef Marcus Guiliano. I'm a chef on a mission. Today's mission is child labor, slave labor. You know, a lot of people think that the world has been cured of slave labor. Child labor is one thing where people know that, okay, there's some child labor going on. And I got to tell you, it's very rampant around the world, and especially in food production. You know, it gets me when people come to my restaurant and they write a review or they send me an email and they just go, you know, your food is expensive. First of all, my food's not that expensive. And second of all, we don't support any items in question of child labor or slave labor. I don't support them. And they're everywhere. If you go to the website, which I'll link here in the description to this YouTube video, Department of Labor, a list of goods produced by child and or forced labor. The reason why I'm doing this is because somebody walked in with an article from the newspaper and said, Marcus, did you see this? Global supermarkets selling shrimp peeled by slaves. Shrimp peeled by slaves. This is the 21st century, people, and they're calling them, the Associated Press, titled this article, slaves, slave labor. So let me just read bits and pieces of this article and then go to some of the most common foods that involve slave labor and or child labor and or forced labor, being slave labor. So this is from the Associated Press, December 14th, 2015, from Thailand. Every morning at 2 a.m. they heard a kick on the door and a threat, get up or get beaten. For the next 16 hours, number 31 and his wife stood in the factory that owned them with their aching hands in ice water. They ripped the guts, heads, and tails off of shrimp bound for overseas markets, including grocery stores and all-you-can-eat buffets across the United States. After being sold to the gig peeling factory, they were at the mercy of their Thai bosses. The things that were being sold were people, okay? People were being sold. They were at the mercy of their Thai bosses, trapped with nearly 100 other Burmese migrants. Children worked alongside them, including a girl so tiny she had to stand on a stool to reach the peeling table. Some had been there for months, even years, getting little or no pay. Always somebody watching. People, this is the reality of our food. This is the reality of our global food supply. And it's shocking, and I'm pissed off about it. It irritates me to no end when people come into my restaurant and they say, your food's expensive. You know what? You want your food to be more money. You want to pay more money for your food. You want to know where your food comes from. The advantage when you come to my restaurant is I research every single thing. And a lot of these celebrity chefs, a lot of these farm-to-table restaurants, they do diddly squat. I was at a famous chef in Reno's restaurant this summer, 2015, and he preaches farm-to-table. He's known for farm-to-table. He's getting a TV show. So I start talking to him, and upstairs in the commissary, upstairs in his restaurant, and I have all these organic ingredients, this and that. And as soon as we go downstairs and get a tour of the kitchen, a backstage pass tour of the kitchen, I'm like, they're using GMOs here. They're using genetically modified beet sugar. They're using slave labor chocolate. And upstairs, where people can see, the consumer see, it's a totally different picture. It's like, oh, these fancy eggs and these local cheeses and organic oats. Downstairs, there's not organic oats. It's bulk, big brand oats. And I'm like, there's such a disconnect. And this guy is like conning people, because we went there because we got a tour of the place through the organization I was with, through the group that I was with, because this is the leading chef in farm to table. I'm like, this chef is not. He's a fraud. He's talking about the whole connection of all the ingredients. So I start talking to him, and he doesn't even know about a lot of ingredients like salt, palm sugar, a lot of these things that, like local salt, like from Utah. They're in Nevada. There's awesome American salt just one state over in Utah. He's not using it though. It was like mind blowing. And this guy was charging a lot for his food, a lot of money for his food. Okay, not as much as I don't charge nearly as much as he charges. And people are like, oh wow, this is great. So along with that article, somebody said to me that was handed to my desk, oh, so-and-so took their shrimp back to ShopRite. I'm like, of course. Don't be shocked. People are like in a warp zone. They just think like that everything comes from a pasture, and that food is just like so pure and natural. When I had a conversation with this person who took their shrimp back several years ago, they were gonna actually buy stuff from me. And because we did such pure stuff, and all of a sudden, oh no, it's too expensive, this and that, and after I ordered all the stuff, they didn't want it because they realized they could go to ShopRite or to wherever and buy things much cheaper. And it happens all the time. People are like, oh, I want to buy that from you. So I'm like, okay, I'll get you a good cost. I'll mark it up just a small nominal percent, like 10%, just so I have some kind of handling cost, which is normally what I do to guests or to friends. And they're like, well, gee, I can buy that cheaper in the store. I'm like, you can't buy what I'm getting you cheaper in the store. You can buy something that looks like shrimp, or that looks like salt, or that looks like sugar, that looks like oats, it looks like this, that looks like that. And it is that, but it's not coming from the same sources, people. So, back to this article. More than 2,000 trapped fishermen have been freed this year as a result of an ongoing Associated Press investigation series into slavery in the Thai seafood industry. So it's not only shrimp, it's a whole seafood industry. 2,000 trapped fishermen. Hundreds of shrimp peeling sheds are hidden in plain sight in residential streets or behind walls with no signs in these port towns and near Bangkok. The AP found one factory that was enslaving dozens of workers with runaway migrants, led rights groups to the Gig Shed and Third Facility, GIG, that's the name of the company. All three sheds had 50 to 100 people each, many locked inside. There's no escape. One woman had been working for Gig for 8 years. Another man ended up peeling shrimp there after breaking free from an equally brutal factory. I was shocked after working there a while. I realized there was no way out. I told my wife we're in trouble. If something ends up going wrong, we're going to die. Last month, AP journalists followed and filmed trucks loaded with freshly peeled shrimp from the Gig Shed to major Thai exporting companies, and then, using U.S. Custom lead records and Thai industry reports, tracked it globally. They also tracked similar connections from other factories raided 6 months earlier and interviewed more than 24 workers from both sites. U.S. customers records show the shrimp made it into supply chains of U.S. major food stores and retailers such as Walmart, Kroger, Whole Foods. Whole Foods, people, yes, Whole Foods, Dollar General, and Petco, along with restaurants such as Red Lobster and Olive Garden. And if they're in Red Lobster and Olive Garden, they're in a lot of other restaurants. That's the bottom line. I see this all the time. When I go to food shows, I see a lot of things that there's just no way, I don't care what the price is, I wouldn't buy it. And shrimp is one of those things, seafood's one of those things from a lot of areas of the world that I know is a major, major red flag. Shrimp is the most loved seafood in the U.S., with Americans downing 1.3 billion pounds every year, or about 4 pounds per person. Once a luxury reserved for special occasions, become cheap enough for stir fries and scampies when Asian farmers started growing it in ponds 3 decades ago. Thailand quickly dominated the market and now sends nearly half of its supply to the U.S. Now, not only is there slave labor involved in this, unfair labor, child labor, but the amount of chemicals, antibiotics, and stuff that actually goes into the shrimp farming is horrid. The people that work there get sick. People that live in these communities around these farms get sick. Mangroves are destroyed. The environment is wrecked. It's a disaster. It's a total disaster and nightmare. And people think, oh, I'm going to go buy cheap food, and I'd rather go to a restaurant with cheaper food. And it's mind-boggling, people. Then when they read articles like this, they're like, oh, I didn't know. So, list of goods. Now, this is a great site. The United States Department of Labor, list of goods produced by child labor and or forced labor. So, it lists by the country and it goes on down. Blueberries in Argentina, child labor. Now, because it's child labor doesn't mean they're not getting paid. It just means they might not be getting paid fair, or it might mean that they're just using children and paying them fair. So because they're using children doesn't mean that they're not paying them fair. But typically they're using children because they're not paying them fair. If they would pay people fair, they would attract adults to these jobs. Dried fish in Bangladesh. Bangladesh is just so terrible. One of the references I like to give people is seamstresses in Bangladesh get like 14 cents an hour, or 30 cents an hour. Seamstresses in China get 55 cents an hour. A seamstress in the United States is a clothing seamstress. They get $30 an hour. So you can see why corporate America is globalized and gone into these countries and are using them for production. But if you noticed, the cost of what we're buying hasn't gone down. When you switch from an American worker making $30 an hour to a Chinese worker making 55 cents or a Bangladesh lady making 15 cents, your clothes, what you're buying, should be a fraction of the cost. And they're not. These companies are pocketing exponential percentages of more profit based upon globalizing out. And it's a shame. It's totally a shame. But back to food. Bangladesh, I mean, everything from salt, shrimp, poultry, you name it, Bangladesh is not good. Belize, bananas, citrus fruits, sugarcane, cotton. Well, cotton's not a food. Cotton oil, cottonseed oil. Bolivia, Brazil nuts and chestnuts, forced labor. That one has a forced labor notation next to it. Bolivia, corn, cattle, peanuts, all forced labor. Sugarcane in Bolivia. Brazil, cattle is forced labor. Sugarcane, forced labor. Labor. Burma, beans, soybeans, forced labor. Bamboo, forced labor. Rice in Burma. Rice, sesame, shrimp, sugarcane, sunflowers, all forced labor. Child and forced labor. Cambodia, across the board, is child labor on a lot of things. Salt, shrimp, chocolate. They might pay these boys something to be out in the fields, but it's still child labor. They should be in school, these children. Chad, the country of Chad in Africa, forced labor. Let's see, there's not much food in there for forced labor. Chocolate. Colombia is, no, sorry, misread that. This list goes on and on. Good thing about Ecuador is only bananas for child labor, nothing else in Ecuador. We buy our chocolate from Ecuador. It's wild harvested. It's not farm-raised chocolate. It's not cultivated chocolate. It's wild chocolate. That's where chocolate originated from. Ghana, chocolate, forced labor, child labor, and forced labor. Honduras, lobsters is child labor. Melons are child labor. India, what do we got for India? It doesn't look like really any food for India. There's a lot of stuff. Rice is forced labor in India. Sugarcane is child labor in India. Indonesia, palm oil, child labor. Fish, child labor. Kenya, coffee, child labor. Madagascar, vanilla, child labor. Mali, rice, forced labor. Mexico, this is all forced labor in Mexico. Coffee, chili peppers, cucumbers, eggplants, melons, onions, sugarcane, tomatoes. Mozambique, no food there. Nepal, no food. Nicaragua, coffee and bananas, child labor. North Korea, forced labor in North Korea. No food, but all like textiles, timber, coal, cement, bricks, all forced labor. Pakistan, sugarcane, forced labor. Wheat, forced labor. Paraguay, cattle, forced labor. Peru, Brazil nuts, forced labor. Philippines, fish, corn, coconuts, bananas, rice, sugarcane, all child labor. Sierra Leone, not much there. Oh, cocoa, chocolate, child labor. Tanzania, tea, coffee, cloves, child labor. Thailand, you got Thailand there with shrimp. Sugarcane in Thailand, child labor. Turkey, cumin, hazelnuts, peanuts, beans, sugar beets, all child labor. Yemen, fish, child labor. So the list goes on and on by country here. I will include that link in there. People, I cannot stress to you enough that buying food, the food that you put into your body, has an impact ethically, morally, and environmentally with everything. The more you pay for something, it's common sense. The more you pay for something, the better product you're getting. The better quality of life you're providing for the people making it. The better environmental, most likely. Better environmental issues it has, the more sustainable it is. And chances are the healthier it is for you. That's not really the true thing, but when you're looking at organic biodynamic versus conventional farmed versus GMO stuff, there's a direct correlation between the cost of what you're paying for is much healthier. I'm not talking about buying healthy junk food or organic junk food like organic potato chips or organic candies and stuff like that. I'm talking about real whole organic foods. So, you can keep complaining. You can keep complaining and saying that, my restaurant's too expensive, that the farmer's market's too expensive, that the health food store's too expensive, but you really need to say, you know what? I just want to keep supporting child labor. I just want to keep supporting forced labor, because that's really what you're doing when you're supporting that. Whether you know it or not, that's the reality of it. And then all of a sudden these people read these articles and they're like shocked, like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. I'm sorry, if you care about what you eat, and a lot of people say, oh, I eat healthy, I care about what I eat. A lot of people don't really care about what they eat. They say they do. They just say that because they know it's important to eat high quality food, and a lot of them just really haven't taken the chance to educate themselves. So, educate, and talk to chefs like me, because I'd be more than happy to answer questions. When people come to my restaurant, I'm very proud of the thing. So anybody who's written a bad Yelp review on me, come to me. I will show you the ingredients that we use. Let's go to your other favorite restaurants, because people list restaurants. Oh, you're more expensive than so-and-so down the street and so-and-so 15 minutes away. I know what these restaurants use. I see the delivery trucks. I see the food distributors. I see the products. I know what the products are. I go to the food shows. And when I go to these restaurants, I ask questions. And these restaurants that people say to me, oh, you're more expensive than restaurant XYZ, down 15 minutes away. I wouldn't eat at restaurant XYZ because I've been there and I've asked them about their food. And I wouldn't eat their food because their tortillas have trans fats. Because because they don't care about the salt they're using. They don't care. If people don't take the time to care about the small things that they're using, what's the difference with the big things they're using? Everything matters. Everything matters. So I welcome you. If you have any questions about my food, please shoot me an email. info@aromathymebistro.com. I'm more than happy to answer any questions. If you have questions about anything, even unrelated to my food, I'm more than happy to answer questions. So, child labor, forced labor, slave labor, it's in your food. Educate. Thanks for watching. If you like my videos, please hit like, subscribe to my channel, and leave some comments. Subscribe.